Good morning. We are on the record in case number 2023-00125, electronic investigation of the alleged failure of Sharpsburg Water District and its officers, Alfred, Bailey, Cecil, Duncan, Judy, Harmon, Randy, Warner, Billy, Martin, and its manager, Gail, Haney, to comply with the commission order. My name is Kent Chandler. I'm chairman of the Public Service Commission and will be presiding over the hearing today. Joining me is Vice Chair Angie Hatton and Commissioner Mary Pat Regan. I would ask if anybody has cell phones that you please silence them or turn those off. Purpose of the hearing today is to take evidence in this case. Before we get started, we'll have an entry appearance of counsel. So for Sharpsburg?
Yes, sir. My name's Earl Rogers, attorney for Sharpsburg Water District.
Okay. And for commission staff?
Jennifer Fell.
Okay. Reviewed the record, and it looks like notice was published, and evidence of that notice was provided that it ran in the newspaper on January 11th. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. There was no one that indicated their interest in providing, or pursuant to the notice, public notice, anyone interested in providing public comment virtually could do so by contacting the Public Service Commission at the link or at the information provided on our website, psc.ky.gov. No one, as of about 10 minutes ago, had indicated their interest in providing virtual public comment. Given that there's no one from the public here in the room to provide public comment, I would just note that public comment in any case can be provided prior to the case being submitted. It can be done one of two ways, either written and mailed to the Public Service Commission and mailed to 211 Sauer Boulevard, S-O-W-E-R, Frankfort, Kentucky 40602, or they can be emailed to the PSC at psc.comment@ky.gov. And we just ask that any public comments indicate the case number, your name, the case number, and where you live. And the case number in this case is 2023-00125. All right, Mr. Rogers, counsel, is there anything that we need to take up before we start the hearing this morning?
I'm not aware of anything.
Okay. And just so I'm clear, do you plan on calling all the commissioners and Ms. Haney?
I have them all here.
Okay.
Frankly, I plan on calling Ms. Haney and Randy Warner first. I'll leave that maybe to the commission because it may get repetitive after that.
I understand. Okay.
But, I'll leave that to you.
That'll be fine. All right. Counsel, you may call your first witness.
Call Gail Haney.
Good morning, Ms. Haney. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
All right. Please state your name and address for the record.
Gail Haney, 95 Bethel Ridge Road, Sharpsburg, Kentucky, 40374.
Counsel.
Gail, we originally filed a sworn statement by you in this matter back, I think you signed it back June 16th, 2023. Have you reviewed that before today?
Yes.
Is everything in there accurate?
Everything except the April the 11th date. I did contact Rural Water on April the 8th.
Okay. So rather than April 11th, you first contacted Kentucky Rural Water Association on April the 8th?
Yes.
And that was to inquire about assistance doing the general rate increase?
Yes.
Okay. Just to reiterate some of the facts in there, how long have you been with Sharpsburg Water District?
This year will be 40 years.
And you are currently general manager there?
Yes.
And how long have you been in that position?
About 37 years.
All right. If you don't mind, just if you could tell the commission what happened, just in your own words, as to why this general rate adjustment didn't get timely filed.
I was aware of it. I've never done one of those. It's always been done through an RD grant or loan project. And I was thinking I could get it done within the time frame when I remembered it on April the 8th, but then I found out that it takes longer to do that than a normal purchased water adjustment.
Okay. So in 37 years as general manager, you had never done a general rate adjustment?
No.
Okay. And when you remembered it, I think you said on April 8th, you contacted who?
Jason Pennell with Kentucky Rural Water and Alan Valines.
Okay. And what did you find out when you contacted them?
That they couldn't get it done by the deadline of May the 27th.
Did they indicate to you how long it would take them to get it done?
Approximately 6 months.
Okay. And did you contact me after that?
Right.
And what'd you ask me to do?
To file for an extension.
Okay. And when did you in fact did Sharpsburg Water District get their cost of service study done and file their general rate adjustment?
That was, I believe, in October of 22. It was October the 28th.
Okay.
Well, that it was filed and approved by the PSC.
As far as the order that was entered in the prior case that ordered the district to file the rate adjustment within 1 year, did you provide a copy of that order to the district commissioners?
No.
And why not?
I have never done that. I've always gotten board approval to do a purchase water adjustment, which I've done about 17 of those. And PSC has 30 days to approve them, the final order, and I didn't know that I was supposed to.
Has that practice changed?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, from here on out, everything will be supplied to the board. I have, in the January minutes, we adopted a policy well, in December we did that, but in January we're doing agendas now and meeting packets prior to the meeting, and in job descriptions as manager, anything that has to do with PSC orders are to be copied to each board member.
And when was that job description? Was that your job description?
Mine and maintenance and the secretary or clerk that works with me in the office, all those job descriptions were added to the policy manual
And when was that?
in January.
Of this year?
Yes.
Okay. And does of those job descriptions, which ones, let me ask you, how many employees does Sharpsburg Water District have?
There's 2 full-time office, 2 full-time maintenance, and then 3 meter readers. So, that's it.
All right. And the job descriptions pertain to you as general manager and who?
Maintenance supervisor and my coworker Shania, in my absence, what her responsibilities are to do.
Okay. And what is Shania's position?
Secretary, clerk.
Okay. This wasn't mentioned in your statement, but Gail, were you a bit short-staffed in the 2021 period?
Yes, well, there were no board meetings at all in 2021 due to COVID. And Shania was off on maternity leave September, October, and November. She came back in December and was off 2 weeks for COVID. And my sister that passed away, that helped me part-time, passed away in March of 22. And then in between all of that, we did a PWA with the city of Carlisle, and their rates weren't approved by the commission. So there was an investigation opened into that, which we did a Zoom meeting and a hearing here in April of '22.
And when Shania was off, did you have to kind of assume her clerk duties there at the?
Yes,
at
I
the
had to
district?
do it all, pretty much.
And how about your health during that period of time?
Between 2017 and 2022, I've had breast cancer twice, 9 rounds of chemo, a broken nose, and a fractured ankle.
And you had breast cancer, what, 2022?
In 17 and 2022.
Did you miss any significant work period during that time?
The second time, I only missed 3 weeks, and I took 2 weeks of that as vacation. The first time, it was sporadic because I had chemo. I would go in as long as I could, and then I'd have to go home.
Gail, did you have any, did you intentionally attempt to avoid the commission's order to file the
No.
timely rate case?
No. I honestly thought that it was like a purchase water adjustment, that it takes you a couple of days to get the information, and the commission has 30 days to approve it. I had no idea it would take that long.
Okay. Gail, I don't have any further questions. I'll pass the witness this time.
Mr. Steph?
Good morning, Miss Haney. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, behind that box, I know it gets difficult at times, so let me know if you can't.
Okay.
Or if I ask any questions you don't understand, just let me know and I'll try to rephrase. So it sounds like you've been around the district for a good while. You said you were the general manager for 37 years. Have you served in any other capacity at the district?
I am the distribution operator.
Okay. And when did you serve as an operator?
Well, I still currently have the operator's license.
Okay. So for 37 years, you've been general manager. Before that, did you serve solely as an operator?
No, those both occurred about the same time.
Okay. And over your years of employment as general manager, just explain in general for us what your job duties entail.
All of the bookkeeping, preparing the budgets, of course, billing and collecting revenue, all reporting requirements. Supervising personnel and reporting to the board.
Okay. Thank you. And I know you've already mentioned several times that you've been involved with purchased water adjustments. I may refer to them as PWAs. If I do, that's what I'm talking about. What other types of proceedings or filings with the commission do you recall being involved in? Have you been involved in things such as construction projects that need approval? Those are called certificates of public convenience and necessity.
I myself haven't done those. Those were always done through rural development.
Okay. And I know earlier you'd stated that you'd never done a general rate adjustment. Do you recall back in 2010, that's the last time we have on record that the district did a general rate filing for a rate adjustment. Do you recall that back in that time period?
I don't recall that, so I don't know if that was something that was done with a project. We had a project in 2007,
Okay.
but I don't recall the 2010.
Okay. The 2010 case I was referencing was a general rate case that the district filed with the commission. Just curious if you had remembered being part of that. Let's walk through quickly. I know you've already given us a little explanation of the events that led up to this. there were two purchase water adjustment cases, 2021-00189. It's in that case that the commission originally ordered the district to file a rate case or an alternative rate filing within 1 year. And then there was a second one, the 2022-273. Again, that was a purchase water adjustment. And that final order, once again, required the district to file the rate case within a year. In between that, it looks like late April, early May of 2022, as already has been mentioned, a motion was made in that earlier purchase water adjustment case for an extension to file for the rate adjustment, correct?
Now, are you talking about the 189 or the 273?
Yes, the 189.
The 189?
That's the case the motion for extension was filed in, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want you to kind of walk me through and explain what happened between those purchase water adjustment orders being issued and the motion for extension being filed by the district. Was there any particular reason, other than what you've already told us, that you just didn't perhaps comprehend the amount of time it would take to file such a rate adjustment? Was there anything else that was happening between that time at the district?
Other than the investigation into Carlisle's rates, we had a hearing here April the 14th of 22 and a Zoom meeting December the 17th of 21 regarding that case.
Okay. When did you realize that you first needed to make contact with Kentucky Rural Water Association for assistance?
It was April the 8th.
And that was of 2022? Or is that 21? That's 21, I believe. No, my bad. 2022.
22, yes.
I've got too many numbers here on this page. But did you take any action between the time other than, well, let's say before you contacted Kentucky Rural Water Association, did you take any action or ask the board for approval of any action in regards to those final orders on the purchase water adjustment cases?
No. From my records, we only had 6 in-person meetings. In 2021, we had none, and we had 6 in 2022. And May was one of the months that was missed.
Okay. So let me ask you, Ms. Haney, are you in general familiar with the commission's regulations? Have you had opportunity to read them in the past?
Yes.
Okay. And prior to this April 8th contact with Kentucky Rural Water Association, would you say you were aware at that point as to what was required to file a rate case or an alternative rate filing?
No, I didn't know that it would take that long.
Okay. You said you had previously, or the district had previously utilized Kentucky Rural Water Association, possibly, for assistance in filings with the commission. Did you have any understanding at all about the timeline that you would need to process a rate filing?
No, and the person that helped me with Kentucky Rural Water said that if I had been his only client, that he could have gotten the work done within the 6 weeks.
Okay. I know when we started today, there was a little discussion about you prepare meeting packets, is that correct, prior to the board meetings?
I've started doing that now.
When did you start preparing those?
January.
Just in January, okay. Of this year, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And, excuse me, you've already testified that you did not provide a copy of those final orders in those purchase water adjustment cases to the board upon approval of those, correct?
Right.
Okay. Can you explain why commission orders were not provided to the board at that time?
I didn't know I was supposed to. When I took the job in 1984, there was a file cabinet with the former clerk's resignation and a cardboard map of the system. At that time, we had 400 customers, so I had no information or nothing to go on.
Your response and what you testified today does, mention that you shared the fact that those purchase water adjustments were approved with the board. I'm just looking for if you can explain to us, if you perhaps weren't aware fully of the requirements in those to file the rate case, or are you acknowledging that you were aware the rate case needed to be filed, but that was not shared with the board?
I wasn't aware that it needed to be shared with the board. I knew that I had to get board approval to file a PWA. But the final order itself, I didn't know they needed to be provided a copy of.
Now, when the motion for extension was made, when you contacted counsel to get him to assist you with that, did you make the board aware of that motion at that time?
Yes.
You did, okay. And that motion for extension, there were actually two filings, one in late April and one in early May. It was the same filing, so I'm assuming it was just a resend. There was no difference in the filings. So you're saying that you did inform the council that that motion for an extension for the rate case was being made?
Yes.
Did the board take any action at that time in regards to that requirement that the rate case was supposed to be filed within a year?
I don't understand what you're asking me.
Okay, so you're telling us that you did inform them that there was a motion for an extension that was going to be filed with the commission?
Yes.
Was there any further discussion amongst the board at that time regarding what that motion was being filed in regards to?
Not that I recall.
And obviously, council was involved in filing that motion before the commission. Can you explain to us, is the board made aware any time council is utilized or needed to file something before the commission? Is that something that is normally discussed at the board meetings?
Yes.
As far as job duties and descriptions for the district staff, including you as a general manager, I believe you've already testified that the district has come up with actual job descriptions for the staff. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that just occurred this month, January 2024?
That's when they adopted it into, adding it into the manual. Yes.
Okay. So something has actually been added to the manual. As a post-hearing data request, I would ask if you could provide those job descriptions to us. And I don't know if you have a copy of that with you today, or
I
just,
do.
Okay. In general, can you tell us the main, or just go through some of the job descriptions and duties of the general manager?
Bear with me. I think it's going to be the last piece of paper I get to. Do you want me to read it all, or?
Not all of it, just go through, kind of generally give us the main duties.
The general manager, under board supervision, manages district operations to provide customers with a safe and reliable water supply, responsible for managing and directing the operation of the district to ensure compliance with state statutes, district goals, policies, resolutions, and applicable governmental regulations. And then it goes on of accounts receivable, payable, payroll. And in the bottom in red, I have put that the Public Service Commission recommends that the district conduct financial reviews on an annual basis to ensure that its water rates are sufficient. The commission also recommends that the Board of Commissioners file periodic rate cases every 3 to 5 years. And then I've got under that the last case that was filed, which is this one, May of 23.
Okay.
That's the managers, and then I have the office secretary, the things that she does if I'm not there, which includes quarterly tax filings and.
Thank you for sharing that. Again,
Okay.
we'll just ask that you provide a full copy of all the job descriptions after this. And to your knowledge, are you the only person at the district that receives emails or copies of the filings from the commission?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I know that as part of your response in this case, you stated that it's the district's new policy, or a policy has been adopted, that copy of all orders from the commission will be shared with the board. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other measures that has been set up by the district to ensure the commissioners do receive a copy of all orders? Are you just copying them on emails, or how is that occurring? Are you providing hard copies at the board meetings?
Hard copies at the board meetings.
Okay. So they're not receiving these perhaps by email?
I don't have their email addresses, to be honest.
Okay. Is there any reason that the general manager of a district doesn't have the commissioners' email addresses?
I haven't asked for them.
Do you know if they have active email addresses that they?
I don't know that.
Okay. And as far as this policy that the commissioners will now be copied on or receive a copy of all commission orders, in your own opinion, is that a policy that perhaps needed to previously exist? That those
Yes.
orders needed to be shared with the commissioners previously?
Yes.
As far as the board meetings, you'd also mentioned in opening that there were no board meetings whatsoever in 2021.
Correct.
We're obviously all aware of the epidemic of COVID that was occurring, but I'm just curious how the board functioned during that time, how many decisions were made. Were you guys communicating via email or by phone?
By phone to, well, actually, they came into the office to approve the budget in December, and by phone for any other issues.
Okay. Now, having been general manager for 37 years, I would assume, but correct me if I'm wrong, if you're pretty knowledgeable about the water loss percentage that is filed with the commission every year, and if you could just make sure to answer a verbal.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, and you are involved in preparing the annual report that is filed with the commission every year, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I am going to pass out a copy. This is just copies of page 57, which is the page that the water loss is reported on from the years 2018 up through 2022. If you could provide one to counsel, the witness, and the commissioners.
That was so clean, I was gonna go through it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay, so again, this is just the one page of each year's report that shows the water loss percentage. And if you look down through there, all of the reported water loss from the district has been recorded as other. So can you confirm whether or not the district has had any line breaks, any water theft, or what all is being included under this category of other loss?
Oh, you're talking about, item 30, line 30?
Yes. As you see, that is where it is all being, it looks like it's all being reported under the category of other. I'm just curious as to whether you're aware, has there been no reported theft or no reported other sources of loss?
There has been several, theft where they've broken the lock or jumped, put a jumper in the meter.
Okay, what about line breaks? To your knowledge, has that just been included under this other category as well?
It could be, yes.
Okay. Okay, and then looking at the actual totals, the water loss percentages, they're at the very bottom right-hand corner of each page for each year. If you look at the 2021 annual report, at that time, water loss was reported as around 23%. And then in 2022, it was reported around 16%. Can you explain what steps the district took to implement that caused this reduction in water loss? Do you recall what was going on around that time?
We've got aging infrastructure and they fix leaks, of course, when they've been made aware of them. And I'm just assuming that we had less leaks, which caused that to go down.
Other than less leaks, there's nothing specific you can recall that would have caused that decrease?
No.
Okay. And then what about 2022? It increased from 19% to 2021 up to 23%. Do you recall during that time period if there were any major incidents that perhaps caused that increase in water loss? Or what might have caused that increase?
And what years were those?
From 2020 to 2021. It jumped from around 19 up to 23%.
Other than leaks, no, I don't have any explanation for that.
Who other than you at the district is involved in calculating the water loss percentage? Is there anyone else involved in calculating this?
No.
Okay. And in these reports, we obviously receive an annual amount of water loss, but does the district record water loss on a monthly basis as well?
Yes.
You do, okay. As a post-hearing data request, I would just ask if you could supply those monthly water loss reports for the past, we'll say, 5 years. Okay, and looking at these same reports, I'm going to switch gears for just a second to the actual system usage of water. And if you look at line 21, I believe it is down here, you will see that category, other usage. So subject to check, the system usage for 2018 looks like it was 0.99%. For 2019, it was 1.61%. 2020, it's 1.56%. 21 is 1.63, and for 2022, it shows 3.59%. So there was a pretty sharp increase there in 2022.
What line are you looking at?
It is line 21. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
This part we calculated.
Right.
Yes, and divided.
Right. And as I said, those numbers I gave you are subject check. That's a calculation staff at the commission do using that number on line 21, the other usage, when compared to all of the gallons produced and used by the district during that year. So those are the numbers I got. It kind of went from around 1.5% up to 3.5% in 2022. Again, just curious if there's anything that sticks out or you can recall that happened at that time that would make such an increase in the actual system usage.
No.
Okay. And Ms. Haney, were you involved, it appears you were the person who responded to the latest Public Service Commission inspection report that was prepared?
Yes.
Okay. And I will quickly pass out, this is just a summary of the PSC inspection report. It's the first document, and the second document is the district's response to that report. They're separated out for you already.
Okay.
You're giving us the, yeah, there's three different documents, I think, or four.
They're already
Okay.
separated out. There's one of each in each one she's handing out.
Oh, okay, I see now.
You see?
I think they were turned anyway.
Okay, my
I'm
apologies.
sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry for any confusion. There's two separate documents. They're being handed to you at the same time.
Here, Liz, take mine.
And these are in the record. You provided these actually as a response to commission staff's second request. So just quickly looking at these, there are several categories of deficiencies that were reported upon that inspection. And I just provided the summary just in case you need to go back and reference that. But what I'm going to ask you about is your response and any further action since this response was made that the district has taken to address these deficiencies. So quickly, as far as water loss, At that time, you stated that, the district repairs leaks as soon as you're made aware of them, that you read the master meters daily. Is there anything further, anything more specific as far as a plan to reduce water loss at the district?
As members of Kentucky Rural Water, we have access to someone that can come in and do a leak detection study, and they do that at night when there's less people using water, so we're gonna contact them to do that once the weather breaks a little.
Okay. That's not previously been done? No contact has been made?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. Is that something that's been discussed amongst the board?
No.
Let me ask you this, is the board aware of the inspection report?
Yes.
Okay, and that was discussed amongst the board?
Yes.
Was your response, or what you were going to provide in your response, discussed with the board before you provided that?
I don't think so.
Okay. Is water loss a discussion that has occurred amongst the board?
It did this previous month because I provided a manager's report that showed how much water we purchased and what we sold. So they're aware of the,
Okay. The second item here, meter test charge. You'd stated that as of the date of this response, you were going to charge the customer the $89 is reflected in your tariff. Has that occurred? Has that happened?
we haven't had anyone request a test.
Okay. Gotcha. As far as fire department usage and reporting, at the time you made this response, I believe you've gotten two of the fire departments to respond to you. One had not. Has that other fire department been responsive to date?
We're still working on that. They keep telling me they're gonna email it to me, which I haven't gotten anything yet, so. But the other two have cooperated and turned them in monthly.
Okay. And as part of the response, you stated that if they did not respond, you would bill them accordingly to the tariff, and if they had not responded by December 1st, you would assess a penalty. Has that occurred?
No.
Any reason that penalty hasn't been
Well,
assessed?
but this one particular fire department keeps saying they're gonna take care of it, so if they don't by February 1st, we're billing them.
I'm just so I'm clear, Ms. Haney, you said that about December 1st.
I'm sorry.
Didn't you say that about December 1st? That if they didn't do what they were supposed to do, you were gonna penalize them per the tariff December 1st?
Yes.
Okay.
What happened was I mailed the letters to them informing them of the reporting requirement, and I didn't send it certified mail, so I gave them a benefit of not receiving that. So the second time, the fire department has an actual meter, and I mailed the bill and the letter again, and I know they got it because they paid their bill. So that's why I gave them an extra month.
2 months.
2 months, yes.
Okay, the next item is meter testing. I know as the time of this response, you had a goal to try and get caught up, to test 15 meters every month. I know there've been some supply issues, but you were hoping to get caught up on the meters that are past due for testing. Just curious what the status of that is. Have you been able to achieve?
We've gotten the meters on order, but as of this time, we haven't received them.
Okay. So have you been able to start getting caught up at all as to the ones that are in arrears? The meters that have not been tested?
I think we've gotten about 15 this month.
So that's January of 2024. What about in December? Did you get caught up on any during that month?
No.
Okay. And then lastly was CPR certification. Now, you stated in the response that you were going to contact someone and coordinate a date sometime in November of last year. Did that occur?
That hasn't occurred. Shania has contacted an individual that is certified in doing the training, and he's never gotten back with us on a date, so we're gonna have to reach out to someone different.
Okay, thank you. Now, in response to the commission staff's first request for information, you provided information regarding your training as the general manager, and that was for the past 10 years. Are there any updates? Have you attended any further training than was listed there?
No,
And do you have plans to attend any future trainings?
as far as commission training,
Yes, or any trainings?
I intend to look into that, yes.
Do you recall when the last commission training was, public service commission training was that you attended? I don't see any for that response that was during the last 10 years.
That goes back, I've been to one that was Public Service Commission, and that had to be back in probably somewhere between 85 and 90. It's been a long time.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Ms. Haney. Staff have no further questions at this time.
Question?
Good morning, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for coming up. I know it's cold out there and we have to all get out and travel in it sometimes. You were talking about the Carlisle district. What is your relationship with Carlisle?
We purchase water from the city of Carlisle and from Bath County Water District.
Okay, so Carlisle's over in Nicholas County, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you say you had to assume some responsibilities when Carlisle was doing an investigation or had a role in an investigation that was happening with them?
We had filed for or they had filed to pass along a PWA to us, and we discovered they had been charging us rates that weren't approved by the commission, so there was an investigation opened into Carlisle, which involved we had to provide a spreadsheet showing what they should have charged and what they did charge. They overcharged us in an amount of like $2,000. And we did a Zoom meeting in 22. I had that in front of me. We did a Zoom meeting December the 17th of 2021 regarding that case, and a hearing here on April the 14th of 2022 regarding that case.
So that was something that took up some of your time, is that why
Yes,
you were telling
ma'am.
us about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. During the time when you would have been preparing for the case you ordered to file here?
Yes.
You're saying that took up some of your time? Okay. And it does sound like you've had some health issues,
Yes.
things like that. Does the board now have a policy to take care of covering for you when the one-woman show is out with illness or injury?
My coworker has been, she can take care of it.
Okay. And is that something new that you've instituted, a policy for people to be able to cover when you have to be out?
Yes.
When you had that training, you said it was probably back in 1990?
I don't recall a year, but I hadn't been with the district very long.
Okay. And you haven't had any since?
Not Public Service Commission, no, I've been to, most of them were Kentucky Rural Water and to get the distribution license is 12 hours, but I can do that through Suncoast Learning online.
So have you done some KRWA training since
Yes.
1990? Do you do it every year?
I have to do it every 2 years,
Okay.
12 hours every 2 years.
And does it cover things like bringing legal notices and orders back to your board?
No,
So that's not something you recall ever being trained on?
no.
What is included in the meeting packets that you prepare now?
Um, this particular packet, which I've just now started, was an agenda and a manager's report showing any meters that were set, the current number of customers, uncollected accounts, any repairs that were made, and the water purchased and water sold, the previous month's minutes, financial statements showing all bills paid, the bank balance, profit and loss, and in this particular packet, we had a request for qualifications for engineering bids to do some rehab work on 2 water tanks and a KIA grant increase was in that packet.
And if there had been any communications from the PSC
That
since
would
the
have been
previous
included.
month, now that'll be included in board
Yes.
packets? And when did these board packets start being prepared?
I started on this January.
But prior to that, they would not necessarily have had any documentation to look at coming into a board meeting.
No.
Um,
Other than the profit and loss, I provided that every month.
Now, the initial order ordering Sharpsburg to do a case was in May of '21. And you said that the board didn't meet at all in '21
No.
due to COVID. Do you have a policy now to make sure that meetings can still occur even if there's something like a pandemic? Do you have a online meeting procedure or anything like that?
No.
So if it happened again, you might go another year without meeting?
We might have to do something else.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Right.
What would be your policy now if it happened again? Because we can't do much about what's already happened,
Right.
but we can address what's gonna happen here on out. All right, that's all the questions I have.
Mr. Regan?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just a couple questions to follow up. I may have misunderstood you. In 2010, you don't remember a filing being made for rate adjustment?
Not that I was involved with.
Okay, do you know who would have been involved with that?
It would have had to have been rural development or KIA, one of the two.
Okay. Was there anyone who's on the board now involved in that case?
No.
Okay. When you found out that you were not going to get the extension, did you take that to the board and let them know?
Yes.
Okay, and what was their response, if you recall?
Well, there was nothing we could do to meet the deadline.
Okay, so no one on the board then, maybe reached out and tried to escalate it within the KRWA?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Have you been the only person up until now to do all of these? It sounds like you hold the office together. Is that a fair statement?
Well,
Was there anyone who could have done, or that would have taken over your duties during that time period? Or the person that's covering now, if you're out, trained as of
She
today?
has actually done a PWA in August when I was off with my second breast cancer. So
Okay.
she knows how to do
She knows
one.
how to do that.
Yes,
Okay. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
thank you.
Good morning. Would you be surprised to find out that you filed and signed the application for the 2010 rate case?
I would.
Okay. So I've got a copy of the application here that you indicate the notices were mailed to customers March 22nd, 2010. Gail Haney as notarized by a Debbie Purvis. Does that name sound familiar?
Yes, she's since passed away. She was a coworker.
Okay. And then the tariffs, at the bottom of the tariffs, you have to put an officer that approved the tariffs. And the proposed tariffs in that case were issued by the signature of the officer was a Becky M. Ritchie. Was that the chair of the board at the time?
Yes.
You filed a couple of copies of minutes from 21, maybe 20, but definitely 22 from board meetings in this case. Do you remember that?
22?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. And those board meetings lasted, by my calculation, between 8 and 35 minutes. Does that sound about right for a board meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Do you file the annual reports with the commission before March of each year?
CPA does that.
Okay. Do you review them or sign off on them or anything like that?
I don't think I sign off on them, but I do look at them.
Okay. The annual reports indicate in them the financial position of the utility. Have you ever noticed that part of it? Where it talks about the expenses and the income and the revenues and just all the kind of different finances. Basically an income statement and a balance sheet for the previous year.
Yes.
Okay. Do you provide those? I have your December board packet. I don't know that I have minutes from January necessarily that I've seen. Every year, do you give the board a copy of the income statement or the balance sheet?
I give them the audit.
You give them the audit after the audit's done?
Yes.
Okay. So if the utility had lost money every year, the board would know that because they're given the audit every year. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's just, instead of going back, let's just take the order that the commission entered requiring Sharpsburg to file a rate case. You're aware of that order?
Yes.
Okay. And that was in 2021, 189. That was a PWA. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And that was a 17-cent, I think, increase per 1,000 gallons. And the commission in that order put a table in there showing, per the annual report, Sharpsburg financials for the last 5 years. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. It indicated that the net income of Sharpsburg was negative for the last 5 years. Does that sound right?
Yes.
So that was through 19, because I don't think 20's annual report had been filed yet when this was done in 21.
Right.
I've got 22 that I just looked at. Is it your understanding that Sharpsburg has a negative net income through 2022, from going back all the way to 2015?
Yes.
Okay. I'll just ask this very directly. At any time during that period, did you recommend to the board to file a rate increase?
No.
did the board ever express concern to you that the district lost money for 5, 6, 7, 8 years in a row?
No.
So the commission saw the finances in that 2021 order and told the water district to file a rate case, right?
Yes.
So let's just say you don't have a memory of the 2010 rate case, but let's just say that the application was for an approximately 20+% increase. Okay, it just subject to check, and you can look at it after. But let's just say it was. Do you know what the rate case that you filed in October was for? You know what size of an increase that ended up being?
18%, I believe.
Okay. Just speaking for yourself, running a water utility, especially in light of COVID and the supply chain issues that you talk about in your response to Mr. Stamper's inspection. You were
Yes.
talking in here about, I want to get the quote right, but due to COVID, all of our supply chains have had issues. Do you remember saying that?
Yes.
Okay. Is it easier to budget getting periodic double-digit rate increases or cost increases, or to get more often smaller, more frequent cost increases?
Would you repeat that?
Yeah, which is easier to budget for? Getting 18 and 20% increases in costs, or smaller, more frequent increases?
Smaller, more frequent.
Okay. The way you guys are doing rate cases, where it's 2 in about 13 years, are at 18 and 20%. Would it have been easier for customers had you done periodic rate increases smaller rate increases periodically, as opposed to 18 and 20+% rate increases?
Yes.
Okay. And then in the meantime, between 15 and 23, you all had a negative net income in every single one of those years. We talked about that a second ago. It was anywhere between $50,000 and over $100,000 a year that you lost. Let's just assume it's only 50 over 8 years. That's $400,000. Earlier, you said that you all have aging infrastructure that's causing leaks, right?
I'm sorry?
Earlier, you said that you all have aging infrastructure that is causing leaks.
Yes.
Okay. Do you all have a need for $400,000 to invest in your system?
Well, of course.
You've been manager for 34 years?
37.
I thought it was 37, and council said 34. That's why I was wanting to confirm. I didn't know if it was 34 when you said it the first time, and then we've had a couple cases since. All right, so 37 years. Let's just take the last 5 or 6. At any time, have you had questions about the financials of the utility from the board? Are we losing money? Do we have money? Do we need to raise our rates? Any kind of financial questions like that are bigger picture financial questions.
I don't recall.
Okay. Before you started providing those types of packets that you've been doing since January, did the board ever ask for that type of information?
Not that I'm aware of.
When the board approved you to do things at the PSC, did you ever get questions, let's say the last 5 or 6 years, did you ever get questions from the board about the outcome of those cases?
You mean after they had been approved?
Yeah, so just take a step back, right? So the process, as I understand it, as you describe it, is when you need to do a PWA, we use way too many acronyms, so I apologize for that. When you need to do a purchase water adjustment, I understood your testimony to say that you go to the board and you seek their approval to file that at the commission. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So they know you're going to file a purchase water adjustment at the commission. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So over your time at the water district, do you remember, and I don't want to go back 37 years, but just do you have memory of a time where after the board in 1 month approved you to go file something at the commission, that any of those board members afterwards ever asked, hey, whatever happened with that filing that we approved you to make at the Public Service
Well,
Commission?
of course, they asked if it was approved and what the rates in itself were.
Okay. Do you remember whether they asked about the purchase water, the 17-cent purchase water adjustment in 2020, well, in the 2021 case that you all were ordered to file a rate case?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, you said sometimes they asked, did it get approved?
Oh, right.
Did they ask about this?
Well, they
purchase-
knew that we didn't meet the deadline and we're.
No.
No,
So in the case, you all filed in 2021 for a 17-cent purchase water adjustment. In that case, the commission, I should go to that. The commission approved as of May 27, 2021, we approved that purchase water adjustment. And in the same order, we also told the district to file a rate case within a certain amount of time, right?
yes,
Okay. Do you remember whether the board asked, any of the board members asked, about the result of that purchase water adjustment filing?
no,
And so when you say they would occasionally ask whether it was approved, is that something you felt like you had an obligation to tell them whether it was approved even without them asking? Is that written somewhere, or is just
No.
a course of conduct? Do you feel like you need to tell them when it's approved?
well, most of them know because they're on the water system and they
Okay.
know the increase went into effect.
Okay, but you don't, there was never, are you aware of any instance in which, let's call it 5, 6, 7, 10 years even, where a board member said, hey, when you get orders from the PSC, we want to know about them. When we get approvals for rate increases, we want to know about them. Has that ever been conveyed to you in written or orally?
No,
Do you do does the board ever ask to do like an annual, like job review with you any given year? We think you're doing well, we don't think you're doing well, we wish you'd do this better. Anything in your 37 years? I'm not saying that, I'm sure that people haven't been critical or supportive in 37 years, but there's no formal, hey, we would like you to start doing something this certain way, never,
no,
okay. Are you aware that the commission does do water district commissioner training?
yes,
Okay. And are you generally aware that there's an obligation, a statutory obligation, that when new commissioners get appointed, their initial appointment, they have to go to 12 hours of new commissioner training?
yes,
Okay. The statute, and don't take my word for it, you can see it for yourself, but the statute effectively says the district shall pay for that.
yes,
Okay. Do you all pay for that when those folks go to new commissioner training?
yes,
Okay. Do you all do like a hotel room if it's a significant drive or a rental car or something? Would you all reimburse them for actual expenses for going to those?
hotel and travel expenses, gas
Okay.
mileage.
Okay. How about, in addition to that, water district commissioners are able to go to training even if it's not for new commissioner training. Are you aware of that? That there's
Yes.
training that's held but not exclusively for new commissioners?
Yes,
Okay. The statute allows for commissioners to be paid more, as long as the fiscal court approves it, if they attend 6 hours of training any given year. Are you aware of that?
yes,
Okay. Would the district, or has the district, or does the district pay for the expenses for those commissioners to attend that other optional training?
well, that hasn't occurred, so,
As the
Would
person
they-
who's in charge of the checkbook, I guess effectively, do you have any objection to paying for commissioners to go to that additional optional training?
no, but that wouldn't be my decision to make.
Okay, whose decision would it be?
I'm assuming the board,
Okay, so here's a question for you. If the board is approving those types of expenses, right? Explain that to me. Where does your discretion of paying the bills end, and you feel like you need to get board approval to pay certain bills? I'll just ask you a point. Do you have to get board approval to pay bills?
no,
Okay. but you feel like you would need board approval to reimburse actual expenses for a water district commissioner to attend water district commissioner training.
Well, I guess my answer to that's no.
Okay, all right, that's why I'm trying to understand.
I kinda got confused.
That's okay. You don't have an objection to reimbursing people expenses to go get better training.
No.
Okay. So, in the item you all filed, which I think was subsequently filed by counsel, asking for the additional time, the April and the May 2022 filings, or 2022. There was a reference to an audit. Do you remember that you all wanted the 2021 audit?
Yes.
Let me just ask, were you all waiting on the 2021 audit to do the annual report, or did you all just need more time because 6 weeks wasn't enough?
Now I'm getting let me just make reference to the 23 audit. It's supposed to be submitted by March the 31st, the annual report. The CPA always has to file for an extension. So he usually doesn't get that done until May. So if we were to do a case now, we would have to refer back to the 22.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have personal opinions. I think it's ridiculous that everybody asks for extensions to May. The regulation says March. The auditor knows every year it's supposed to be
Right.
March, and he's prioritizing taxes over doing your all's annual report. Would you agree?
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you all looked at getting a new person to do it that puts you all first and not all of his other clients
No,
or their clients?
no.
Okay. But let's go back. You called Jason Pinnell at Rural Water, and he said it would be 6 months, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then the primary reason that I read the given need to get an additional 6 months in the request was because you wanted to use the audit. I'm just asking, in retrospect, was the real reason you needed an additional 6 months is because Rural Water needed 6 months to do it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. It didn't really have anything to do with the audit. Is that fair?
To me, it didn't.
Okay. All right. The last one, I looked at your all's 2022, I found your counsel to be an able attorney as it relates to PSC issues. I was reviewing the minutes that you have. It doesn't appear that anybody attends, as normally, I'm talking generally, nobody attends the board meetings except for the board members and yourself. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Do you all ever ask an attorney to come to board meetings when you all have issues, or to be there in case you have issues? And I know this is more of a question for the board, but I'm just curious as a spectator of the board meetings and as a person who puts the board packet together, have you ever identified issues ahead of the meeting and said, we probably need to make sure we have an attorney here because we need to talk about an issue?
No.
Okay. And you pay the bills. Does the attorney employ in the ordinary course does the district employ in the ordinary course an attorney?
No, just as needed basis.
Okay. So if you all have legal issues, you don't necessarily have an attorney on retainer or somebody
No.
available to pick up the phone and call?
No.
Okay. Counsel? Any redirect?
Yes, just briefly. Just to go back and cover a couple of things. Gail, I believe the policy that the board adopted that they are to be copied on all PSC orders. They adopted that policy actually last year in 2023, correct?
Yes,
And then it was also included in your job description that was adopted in May of this year. Is that correct?
yeah, the job descriptions I just did was in January.
I thought I said January. Okay, yeah. Whatever.
January,
What-
yes.
You're right, January.
Yes.
So but it is included in your job description also?
Yes,
And I think you may have said this, the inspection report that was, and your response that you were questioned about, were those provided to the board?
yes,
I think the chairman was asking you about annual profit and losses being conveyed to the board, and you said you conveyed the audit reports.
yes,
But I think you'd also said previously that you provide a monthly P and L
yes,
at every board meeting. Is that
Yes.
correct? And you've done that not just now, but that has historically been done?
yes.
Can I ask a clarifying question,
Sure.
Counsel? The monthly information that you provide, is that, in what form is that? Is that on a cash basis, or is that on a net income basis?
Whatever report that QuickBooks generates. So I'm not real sure.
I think that may just be on a cash basis. It's
Yes,
just, it's
I
just
think so.
calculating your income and your cash expenses, the checks written and the income that
It's-
came in.
Right,
It doesn't include depreciation.
no,
Okay,
no.
thank you.
And also, the order from 2021-189, where the purchase water adjustment was approved, and also you were ordered to provide, or to file a general rate case within a year.
Yes.
I think you said that you didn't provide them a copy of that order.
No,
I think the chairman asked you if anyone asked if that was approved. Did you or did you not, whether they asked or not, did you tell them, the board, that that purchase water adjustment had been approved, or did they just see it on their bill?
you're talking about the 189 case that was filed,
Yes.
and what was the question
The
again?
question is, did you verbally, I know you didn't provide them the order, but did you verbally inform them that that purchase water adjustment had been approved?
Yes. Yes,
No further questions.
Thank you very much. So what we'll do, Council, we'll take a short, let's take a 15-minute recess. So you can talk to your, after the questions this morning, talk to your clients, and we will come back at 10:40.
Thank you.
June.
We're back on the record in case number 2023-00125. Mr. Rogers.
Call Randy Warner.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
I do.
All right, please have a seat. Please state your name and address for the record.
Randy K. Warner, 2717 Ratliff Road, Sharpsburg, Kentucky, 40374.
All right, counsel.
Randy, what do you do for a living?
Farm,
And are you a member of the Sharpsburg Water District
yes. Have been since 2002.
since 2002? Okay. Actually, I showed you previously your statement that we filed in this record. Is everything in there accurate?
Yes.
Except it says,
2021 prior to, which I reckon 2002 is prior to 20.
right. So actually, I think we were correct. You've been on the board since 2002. Okay. And do you currently hold an office?
Yes, I'm the chairman.
You're chairman of the board? Mm-hmm. And how long have you been board chairman?
Since last part of 18 or 19, our previous chairman resigned. I took over.
Okay. As far as the, if you could, in your own words, just explain what happened with regard to this general application that was to be filed within 1 year.
Well, it's kind of like I said in my statement, 21, we didn't meet. I mean, most of the board members are kind of up in age, not young, so we stayed away. For COVID, I think every one of us on there probably had COVID during that year's time. And we got to thinking, Miss Gail just, she thought she had time to do it. She didn't know that encompassing to do, so it kind of fell in the cracks. And I apologize for that.
When did Gail inform you all of the requirement to file the rate case within a year?
Was it October? I can't remember exactly I don't know whether it wasn't October 21, whatever it was I put on there. I can't even remember what I said or what date it was.
Well, did she notify, without regard to date, do you recall the circumstances where she notified you?
Yeah.
What were those?
She just let us know that we missed we'd asked for an extension and didn't get it. And she didn't think there was a way that she could get it done in that time frame.
Based upon that circumstance that's happened, has the board taken any action to maybe keep this from happening in the future?
Well, like she said a while ago in her testimony, all the board members get a hard copy of any PSC orders, anything like that. And now we've instituted getting the packets before each meeting. That way you kind of know what the agenda with everything else. We get the profit and loss statement, and any, underlying business that we have to have that comes before the board.
You've been on the board 20 years,
Yeah.
up till now. Has it always run the same way?
Always run the same way. I mean, I trust Gail with my life. I mean, she's been through everything, and I trust her. I mean, I reckon that's what it comes down to, trust.
But as far as meeting packets, providing copies of orders, that hadn't been happening
No,
all the time?
no. And we'd have the agenda, and
Have the
most
agenda.
usually the copy of the previous month's minutes, and a profit and loss statement, we'd usually have that.
As far as board member training, are you required to have training, Randy?
I assume, I was grandfathered in,
Okay.
as, for now that any new board member has to have training. I didn't have to, it wasn't required in 2002,
Are you open to going to?
whatever I need to do.
And to your knowledge, the rest of the board, are they open to doing additional
Yes,
training?
yes.
No further questions, I'll pass the minutes.
Good morning, Mr. Warner. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me know if at any time you can't or you can't understand one of my questions, okay?
Okay.
So you've been on the board since 2002, and just so I'm clear, you just stated that you were grandfathered in, so it's my understanding, have you never attended a water commissioner training by the commission?
No,
Okay. Have you attended any type of water
No.
commissioner training?
no,
Any by the Kentucky Rural Water Association or any other organizations?
no,
Okay. Do you have plans to attend any future trainings?
if it's offered.
Having sit here today, would it be fair to say you might be making plans to attend some future training?
I'd say that'd probably be on the number one on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. And were you aware before today that the commission does provide water commissioner training at least twice a year?
Well, there's kind of an irony to that. I was making fun of the ones that had to go to the training because I was grandfathered in, but now it's gonna bite me in the butt and I'm gonna have to go myself.
Now, in your capacity, well, first off, let me back up and ask you, you've been chairman since approximately 2018. It's my understanding, and it looks like from the annual report, you may have served as secretary as well.
Yes.
How many years were you secretary of the board?
Oh, 8 or 9.
Okay. Did you serve in any other offices or positions on the
No.
board?
No.
Okay. So throughout your years as a member of the district's board, would you say you're familiar with commission regulations?
No.
Have you ever read any of them or had experience? With
Really didn't, to be honest, I really didn't think I needed to because Gail been there for 40-some years. She knew it inside and out.
So let me ask you, in your experience as a board member, have you ever picked up a PSC, a commission order, and read through it in its entirety?
No.
No. Okay. In your experience as a board member, though, is it fair to say that you have been involved in filings and cases before the commission before?
Nothing.
Were you aware that Ms. Haney makes annual filings with the commission?
Yes.
Okay. Were you aware that cases such as the purchased water adjustments were being filed with the commission?
We would always, after the fact, get,
Okay.
she would let us know that we was approved or whatever.
Okay. So you just said after the fact you'd be made aware of the approvals.
Yeah.
What about those applications that were filed with the commission? Were you ever aware that those were in the process of being filed with the commission?
Now, if I'm right, she would bring it up and the board would give her approval to file if it was required.
When Ms. Haney would have brought that up with the board,
Yes.
I'm just curious, were you ever curious as to what were in those applications?
No, no.
Do you ever recall asking for a copy of a
No.
commission order?
No.
So even though you may have been made aware of the approvals, let me ask, even since the pendency of this case, since the beginning of this case, did you receive updates from Ms. Haney anytime the district would receive an order in this case?
She would let us know how things were progressing,
Okay.
Told us, about that, we'd send in, Mr. Rogers had sent in the appeal and all that, but I mean, as for the particulars, no.
So it's my understanding from what I've heard from Ms. Haney today and what was in each individual commissioner's response, their initial response that was filed in this case, that the board did not become aware of the requirement that was provided in those final orders of those purchased water adjustment cases in 21 and 22, that there was this requirement to file the rate case within 1 year. Does that sound correct?
Sounds correct to me, yes, ma'am.
And I kind of have gotten two differing pieces of information here. Do you remember being made aware, or the board being made aware, that a motion for extension to file that rate case was going to be filed with the commission?
Yes, I think she told us that she had had him file an extension and then it had been denied.
Okay. Do you recall the board taking any further action at that time?
No, we just left it in her hands.
So no, do you recall if any further questions were asked about what was actually required of the district as far as what that extension was needed for?
But she just said that she couldn't get it done within that allotted time frame.
And even at that time, there was no request for the board to review that order? What types of information does the board generally review on just any given board meeting?
Well, if there's problems, if we've, like if we've got a customer that's had a problem with something, anything pertaining to, like, if there's any kind of projects that's fixing to come our way, like the grant for the fixing the water tires or anything like that, it had to be, something kind of unique or whatever. Normal stuff, it'd be just on the agenda, but, something like, getting anything else.
And I know you've already kind of stated for us that, when you learned of that motion for an extension or any time a purchase water adjustment was going to be filed, you kind of left it in Ms. Haney's hands, correct?
Yes.
So what was the board's expectations of the district's general manager as far as preparing for matters that needed to come before the PSC, the actual filing of them, or follow-ups?
I hate to say this, we just left it in her hands because we, she'd been doing it for so long, we just knew that she would get it taken care of.
Were there any expectations of the board members themselves when it comes to statutory requirements or filings with the
No,
Public Service
no.
Commission?
Not that I know of, no ma'am.
Do all the board members have the same responsibilities?
Yes.
Are there any of the offices that require any further action or
Well,
responsibilities?
I've got signatory, we've got a treasurer that signs the checks. There's 3 people that can sign checks.
Other than that, I was trying to get at, are there any board members that have any further responsibilities as far as regulatory
No,
compliance?
no.
On your entire tenure being a member of the district's board, can you recall any board meetings where the board sat down and reviewed a commission order?
No, not my 21 years there, no ma'am.
Let's switch gears for just a second. Based on the annual reports we receive, it looks like each commissioner currently receives an annual salary of $1,705.32. Does that sound correct?
I think so, yes ma'am.
Okay. Do you recall when or how that specific amount was approved?
No ma'am. That comes from the fiscal court. In both fiscal courts, both Nicholas County and Bath County would have to approve anything.
Okay. As a post-hearing data request, I'll ask the district to provide any minutes or approvals from Nicholas or Bath County fiscal courts that approved that salary. But just from you, are you aware as to where that calculation came from?
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, I think that was our salary when I first started in 2002. And I think the only adjustments they get is like the you know, if the social security, what they take in and out of the, but I believe I'm right about that.
Okay. Well, like I said, we'll make a written request, to the parties to provide any documentation where that salary was approved or provided by
Okay.
by those fiscal courts, both of those, Nicholas and Bath County. As well as any minutes, from Sharpsburg District board meetings that would show that approval as well, that would evidence that. So we've already heard today from Ms. Haney about how the district has adopted a new policy that all commission orders will be provided to the board members, correct?
Correct?
And that has officially gone into effect,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Having sat through Ms. Haney's testimony and the questions you've already been asked, and being involved in this investigation case, just wondering if you would acknowledge that commission orders are something you believe that should be reviewed by the board?
I do now.
Okay. And not only to be aware of an outcome or decision of a case, but as well as whether any further action needs to be taken by the board,
I
right?
believe that now, after going through what we went through, that we should know in advance, you know, once we get them.
So I know you said you're not really familiar with the commission's regulations. Do you know where to find those regulations?
Oh, I think you could probably Google it and find it.
Yes, or the website, our website, yes. Okay. And Ms. Haney shared that some written job descriptions have now been approved by the board, correct?
Yes.
Other than that, has there been any further written policy approved or adopted by the district's board?
Not that I know of.
Now, to your knowledge, before that written job description was provided for Ms. Haney, the only thing we got in response to our request for information was a description in the district's personnel manual that stated the district's manager is the administrative officer of the district, with the exception of matters and appointments reserved to the Board of Commissioners. The authority and responsibility for the conduct and administration of the functions of the district is vested in the district's manager. And again, that came from your personnel policy and procedure that was provided to us in response to our request. To your knowledge, before this new written description that you are going to provide us a copy of was created, did Ms. Haney ever receive any other formal written verbal directives from the board as to her specific duties and responsibilities?
No, ma'am.
Especially in regards to regulatory compliance?
No, I put my trust in her.
Now, as far as appointments to the Board of Commissioners, do you know who is responsible for providing notification of those appointments or even reappointments?
The county judge executive, fiscal court in both counties.
Were you aware that there's a responsibility and requirement that those notices of appointments be filed with the Public Service Commission as well?
No, ma'am.
Are you involved in that type of filing or that type of notification?
No.
Who would be? Would that also be Ms. Haney's responsibility?
I don't know whether it be Miss Haney's or the fiscal court themselves.
Okay. The last notice of appointment that we have on record that the district filed with the commission here was from back in 2019, after Nicholas County Fiscal Court approved the reappointment for yourself and for Mr. Duncan. Have any commissioners been newly appointed since that time in 2019?
I don't know when Mr. Bailey came on. I think he was on before 19 though.
Okay. And are you aware whether, well, I'm sorry, scratch that. I'll just go ahead and ask a post-hearing data request if, can find any letters or notices from the fiscal courts, Nicholas or Bath, that approved, any of the Board of Commissioners appointments or reappointments. And we'll say since 2010 forward. So I know you heard us discuss earlier a little bit about the water loss of the district, correct? Are you familiar with the water loss?
I know we've had some. I mean, we had an 8-inch pipe that was on a road that it was kind of on a real steep incline, that it was during the winter months when it was thawing and we could not get equipment in to get it fixed. I know there was a substantial water loss with that, and, I've heard, George and Ricky and them talk about having leaks, trying to get them fixed. But, sometimes it's like trying to patch it with Band-Aids.
And that incident that you're discussing, did that require last year or happen
No,
last
I
year?
think it was 20 or 21, or it might have been 22. We had it was on Convict Road. I don't exactly remember the date.
Are there any other very specific issues that you know of that have been resulting in water loss in the district?
I think we had one of the water tires overflowed overnight. The automatic shutoff didn't work on it.
Any idea when that
No.
approximately happened?
No.
Do you know of any further plans the district has to address water loss?
Well, what Gail was talking about, getting rural water to come out and do the survey of the lines and stuff overnight. That's something it's going to be done.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Warner.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Warner, I appreciate the good working relationship that you have had all these years with your general manager. But do you feel like now you have an understanding that you're supposed to direct her work?
I don't know. I think the board probably understands now we need a little bit more scrutiny. But as for directing her work, I don't know whether we need to direct her work or, just watch, be more active in what she needs.
She works for you. The board is the one who actually takes action. You understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's the board that'll be in willful violation of an order if an order isn't followed.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that you're responsible for making sure that your manager is trained and that she informs you of things that, do you understand that that's
Yes,
your
yes, yes.
responsibility? Okay. And I hope that I'm not sounding disrespectful in the way I'm asking these questions.
No.
Just, you've been on the board since 2002,
Yes, ma'am.
but you never ask any of these questions
No, ma'am.
about,
I mean, we trusted her, and I still got trust in her. I
And-
mean,
I'm asking you whether you understand that it's not just about trusting your manager, it's about managing your manager.
well, yes, ma'am, I do now.
Okay. And you're gonna go to some training this year?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I can guarantee you I'll have some training somewhere.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to follow up on a question that the chairman asked Ms. Haney about the profit and loss.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys review that at the board meeting each month?
It's take-home stuff. I look at it while we're sitting there. I mean, some months it'll be a positive number, some months it'll be a negative number, but, you know, I've never followed through with, I'm not a CPA or a numbers guy on something like that.
As the chairman of the board, and when you looked at the aging infrastructure and then the profit and loss, did you have concerns?
Maybe in the back of my mind, but I'm always, I mean, I'm talking to both county judges, trying to see if there's some grants or something that'll help us replace some of it.
Do you have email?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, does everyone on the board have?
Now that I don't know.
Okay.
It's something that's really never come up until today.
So if you need to communicate with someone on the board in an emergency or something, you just pick up the phone?
Pick up the phone, call them, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Good morning. Sharpsburg lost $73,160 in 2022. Did you know that?
Oh, ma'am.
The reason I ask is because that's per the annual report that's filed with us every year. Have you ever seen one of those annual reports?
I've probably seen one, yes.
Would you be surprised to know that you actually sign the annual report every year, certifying that it's your duty to have supervision over the books of account of the utility and to control the manner in which such books are kept, that you know that such books have, during the period covered by the report, been kept in good faith in accordance with the accounting and other orders of the Public Service Commission, effective during the period, and that you've carefully examined the report and to the best of your knowledge and belief that the information in the report as it relates to those accounts are accurate?
Yes, I probably did.
Well, it's not even a probably did. I'm asking, does that surprise you that I have your
No.
notarized signature on that annual report that shows you lost over $70,000 in 2022?
No, I probably, yes, sir, I did.
Okay. But you don't know whether you lost $70,000. Just as a, like, if I asked you at next month's meeting, where were you in the last calendar year or 2 calendar years ago, you wouldn't know whether it was a positive or a negative number.
No, not unless I had the report in front of me.
Okay. Do you know the last year you all had a positive net income?
No, I did not. I just don't study the numbers and stuff. You know.
Who is studying the numbers?
I guess our accountant, you know, I don't know whether Gail does or
Whose
not.
obligation is it to know that somebody is studying the numbers?
Whose obligation is it? I would assume our general manager, you know. and
Why do you assume
probably
that?
The board would have to assume part of that responsibility also.
Is the board assuming part of that responsibility?
They probably will now.
Well, that wasn't the question. Are you? Have you been?
No,
Okay. You've been on the board for 20 years.
yes,
Okay. At any point in that time period, do you believe, based off what you've heard today and what you know about this whole case, that you all have been fulfilling your responsibility as board members?
not fully, no.
All right. Let me at point blank. Do you understand what your responsibilities are
I do now.
responsibilities are as board members? How about for the last 20 years?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So I'm just going to read from you real quick a statute here. And this is the statute that's called water districts. So we at least know what the subject is. It's chapter 74. Mr. Rogers, give you a copy of all these. In chapter 74, commission, when it says commission, it actually means the water district board. Okay? It says that the commission may employ a person to serve as the chief executive officer of the water district, and then goes on to say that the chief executive officer shall perform such additional duties as the commission may require of him or her, and shall be subject to the orders of the commission. At any time in your 20 years, do you believe you all have adequately told Ms. Haney what her duties are?
No.
If it hadn't been for the commission ordering the water district to file a rate case, when when do you think that you all would have taken heed of the fact that you all were losing money year after year and seek to increase your rates?
I have no idea. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I don't know whether it'd been if we applied for a grant and they come in to look at things, something like that, they might have brought it up.
Whose job is it to make sure that you all are able to break at least even in your net income?
Sounds like it's mine.
Do you think, based off your 20-plus years on the board, that you all can provide the minimum level of service required, losing money year after year?
Well, we have been, but I mean, I can see we need to really improve. Yes,
Let's
sir.
talk about that. Your all's water losses every year in excess of 15%, correct?
Yes,
And some years in excess of 20%.
yes.
And your meters have not been replaced on time, is that right?
Now that I couldn't tell you whether they've been,
Okay. Well, are you aware of the periodic inspection report that was done of Sharpsburg?
yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen it.
Okay. So I have a copy of the periodic inspection report that was conducted late last year. Do we have the cover letter to that report
Okay.
indicating who it was sent to?
I do not have the actual report. Look it up. It's actually-
So I have, Counsel, would you mind to hand him this report? And it's the multi-page one if you have it. Can you copy the full one?
Chairman, I have a copy of the cover letter if you'd like.
Do you mind, is Mr.
You can have that.
Mr. Warner's name on that?
It's actually addressed to Ms. Haney.
Yeah, but there should be a CC at the bottom in case anybody was copying on it. Here, I'll take it. That's fine. Counsel, here's the cover letter to that. Can you provide it? Give you a chance to look at it. Have you seen this report?
Not that I recall, I'm certain I probably have.
Okay. So on page 2 of it, do you see the deficiencies at the bottom of it?
Deficiencies
Yeah. Do you see deficiencies on there?
on page 2.
I believe that's where it should be. Mr. Rogers, you mind, just to point to him where the deficiencies are in that inspection report?
Page 2.
Maybe further back than that.
Chairman, the summary has the deficiencies listed on page 2,
That'll be, yeah, it's the summary that has it.
not the full report.
I think they're later back in the full report.
This
There's-
is the inspection report summary. If you turn to page 2, well, actually,
Right here.
deficiencies.
You see those deficiencies?
Yes,
You see the, are you aware of these deficiencies per the inspection report?
no,
Okay. You're aware the PSC does periodic inspections of the utility?
yes,
You see the fourth one down, utility has customers with 1-inch and smaller meters that have been in service for 10 years without being tested as required by should be 807 there, but 807 KAR 5006, section 16.1.
yes, sir.
Okay, did you know that meters have to be tested or replaced every 10 years?
No, I did not.
Okay. How do you all set up a budget? I mean, meters are one of your all's biggest expenses. How do you all set up a budget to replace, or test meters every 10 years if you didn't know that it needed to be done?
We just leave it up to Gail to do the budget.
Counsel, do you mind to provide a copy of the letter from Ms. Haney back to, no, I'm sorry, the response to the November 1st response letter on behalf of the district to the deficiencies?
The letter dated November 1st.
November 1st, directed, and received, stamped received November 6th, top right-hand corner.
Correct, yes.
Do you see that letter to Mr. Nance?
Yes,
Okay. On the second, this is a letter from Ms. Haney, if you'll turn. You see on the third page to your right, it's signed by Ms. Haney.
yes,
You see she's responding to the meter testing under 4 on the left-hand page.
okay,
All right, so I'm going to read meter testing. You tell me if you read it differently than me. Due to COVID, all of our supply chains have had issues. The last time we placed an order for meters, it took 6 months to get them. We only have 5 1-inch meters in the system, and we have ordered 5 to replace those and test the ones we take out. We have also ordered the 5 8-inch meters, and they are expected to be delivered in December. Our goal is to test 15 meters every month. That will get us up to date on the 100 meters that are past due for a test. If we can budget it, we will do more to get caught up. You see that?
yes, sir,
More money would have helped you all get caught up. Would you agree?
I agree.
Okay. I read the statutes, and this is a statement. I read the statutes saying the job, the success, and the operation of the water district is the board's job. And you all can hire somebody as a chief executive officer, call them what you want, manager, whatever you want, to delegate duties to that end.
Okay.
Have you all taken over that? Have you all taken on that responsibility in the last 20 years?
No,
So why is that Miss Haney's fault?
well, I guess, she was the manager, she's been there for 40-some years, so she knows how it operates.
Right, but it's your job that it operates well. You're supposed to tell her what her job is, right?
Yeah, we've been derelict of our duty on that.
Okay, so I guess what I'm asking is, why is it Miss Haney's fault that you all didn't do that?
I never said it was Miss Haney's fault.
Well, the response here indicates that it's Miss Haney's fault that she didn't timely tell you all, or what, it's Miss Haney's fault that you all didn't file a rate case in time. Is that right?
Well, she was gonna file it and didn't get it done in time, so if you wanna call that a fault, yes, sir, it's a fault
Okay.
for that.
And you all have told her it's her job to file rate cases.
Well,
Let me take that back. I'm sorry, I withdraw that. Have you all told her it's her job to tell you when orders come out of the PSC?
Yes,
You all told her that before all this
no,
happened?
no, no.
Okay. So she was supposed to know that that was her job, but she'd never been told that's her job.
Right,
Okay. But it's her fault that she didn't do something she had never been told to do. Is that accurate?
well, it's her, she done the one in 2010.
Great.
If-
Did you hear my question earlier to Ms. Haney about the 2010 case?
And I was thinking, and we were talking, I honestly believe that might have been back when we had a project going on to put a water tank in Bethel. I believe that was right around the same time.
So there was no project associated with it in 2010. It was just a rate case.
Is that all it was?
Do you remember me asking about a Becky
Richie,
M. Ritchie? And Becky M. Ritchie had what position on the Water District Board?
she was chairman.
So she knew about the rate case in 2010 because she signed the tariffs, right? Do you sign the tariffs for the utility now?
Yes,
Have you all taken for granted how good of a job Ms. Haney does running the Water District?
oh, yeah.
So just when you started, you were saying earlier you came in before you think the statute started making you go to training
Right.
requirement. When you come in, when Water District Commissioners come in, how do you know what your job is?
I don't really know.
Well, like if the judge, somebody goes off, somebody asks to go off, judge executive appoints somebody new, and they come to you and say, Randy, how do I know how to do my job? What do we do here? What would you tell them? What would you tell them to do to figure out what their job is on the board?
I'd have to go find it somewhere. I mean, when I got appointed, the county judge called me and said, would you do me a favor? I can't find anybody that wants to do this. And he appointed me.
Okay. Roger, do you have any redirect? Do you have any redirect? Excuse me, I gotta get a drink here. Go ahead.
Okay. Randy, just to clarify, in response to a question to Ms. Fail, you said that you had been advised as this case had went along, this investigative case. Have you been provided orders of the commission that have been entered in this case, such as the order to appear here today and the
Yes,
hearing in
yes,
that
yes.
case? So you've been provided orders as this case has been?
Yes.
And then I think, in response to the chairman's question, I think this is kind of understood in your answer, but Gail had never been told what to do as far as filing rate cases,
No,
but she'd been doing them, whether it was generally pass-through cases for the past 20 years that you've been on the board, right?
right,
And although never told directly, she's acknowledged that she's the one that would file those cases.
right.
You acknowledge today that you as a board collectively need to tell her what to do in that regard.
Yes.
Up to this point, it's kind of been assumed she would take care of that.
Yes.
No further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Roger, do you plan on calling any more witnesses?
I do not, no, sir.
Okay. Here's what I would like to do, and I can do it as a panel. We can call each individual up, but what I'd like to have an understanding is if anybody, we've got their initial responses. Ms. Feld, do you have questions for any of the other board members?
If I could just clarify one thing in the response to staff's first request for information, I believe there might be a typo. Just curious about Ms. Harmon's training history.
So, so
I
that's
can
what we'll
ask
do. We'll
it.
just call each individual up, and I frankly just want to know whether they disagree with the testimony today provided by Ms. Haney
Okay.
and Chairman Warner, and if they do, what, and if they have anything else to add. So we'll just call individual. We'll go with Ms. Harmon first.
Sure.
That'll be fine. We'll call Ms. Harmon.
Okay.
Good morning. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury? Okay. Please have a seat. And if you could, there's a microphone up there in front of you that should be green. If you can pull it closer to you. However loud you think you need to talk, with the plexiglass around you, you just need to talk louder.
Okay.
Just so we can hear you.
Okay.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Judy Harmon, 1779 Little Flat Road, Sharpsburg, Kentucky, 40374.
Counsel.
Ms. Harmon, you're a member of the board for Sharpsburg Water District.
Yes.
Do you recall how long you've been on the board?
It's about 35 years.
Okay. And you have not had any training?
No.
Is that correct?
No.
Shall I go ahead and ask your question, or do you want to ask?
That's fine. That's fine. Be efficient with things. That's okay.
You've heard both Gail Haney and Randy Warner testify today. Do you disagree with anything they have testified to?
No, I do not.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Bell?
Just one clarification, in the response to commission staff's first request for information, it had Mr. Warner's name listed twice as no training within the last 10 years, and your name was not listed at all or provided your history of training for the last 10 years. Do you believe that probably was meant to include your name?
Probably so.
Have you, I believe you just stated that you had not attended any
No.
training?
No, I have not.
Is that since you started on the board 35 years ago?
I have not ever.
Okay. Thank you, that's the only clarification I needed to make.
Do you agree with the characterizations that have been discussed today on the board, and the filings? To your knowledge, is that
Yes.
your recollection? Do you agree or disagree with that?
I agree with everything that's been said.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Harmon, do you have anything to add this morning?
No, not that I know of, no.
Were you, Did you get your arm twisted on serving this water district similar to Mr. Warner? Did you get a phone call that said, please do me a favor?
Well, actually, I was wanting city water where I lived. I didn't have it. And the judge called and said, if you want city water, you may have to be on the board.
The answer to that was yes. Okay,
So they couldn't get anybody else, I don't guess.
yeah, so that's a yes. Just, it's just coming to me, but the way you're getting the packets in real time at the meeting, do you think there would be a benefit to getting those packets a day or two ahead of the meeting so that you have a chance to look at them, to ask questions at the meeting prior to the meeting?
That would be okay if everybody could get there
Okay.
to get them.
And do you have a way to either go by and get a paper packet or to be sent it by email? Do you have that? Some of Mr. Warner was talking about he has an email. I just didn't know what your preference would be.
I worked at the bank in Sharpsburg, and I could just walk right down there and get it.
Okay. All right. But that would be helpful to you to get them ahead of time. Mr. Warner was talking about taking it home afterwards and looking at it later, but then you have to wait effectively a month to ask it at a next meeting. Of course, you can call, but do you think there would be a benefit of getting ahead of time?
That'd be good, yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Counsel?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Harmon.
Alfred Bailey.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
I do.
All right, please have a seat. Please state your name and address for the record.
Alfred Bailey, 7518 West Tunnel Hill Road, Sharpsburg, Kentucky, 40374.
Counsel.
Mr. Bailey, how long have you been serving on the Sharpsburg Water District?
I think since 27, or 17, I mean, 2017.
2017?
Yeah.
Have you had training related to being a commissioner for Sharpsburg Water
Yes, I
District?
have.
You've sat here today and listened to testimony of both Gail and Randy? Yes, sir? Is that
Yes,
yes? Okay. Do you disagree with any of the testimony that they gave today?
No, I do not.
Pass the witness.
Ms. Phil.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bailey. Just one question. For the records we have, it looks like you may have been appointed sometime in 2016. Does that sound right?
Could be, yes, probably is.
And we have in response to our first set of questions, request for information, it looks like you did attend Public Service Commissioner training back in 2016. Do you recall going to that?
Yes, Jenny Wiley State Park.
Have you attended any training since then?
No, I had a 2 or 3 day class before that up at Moorhead, but I found out after I'd already taken it that it wouldn't qualify for the specifications, so I went on to Jenny Wiley and took the training up there.
Okay, thank you. That's the only question I had for you, Mr. Bailey.
Question.
Questions?
You have anything else to add today?
No, sir, not really.
How was your arm twisted to be on this water?
It wasn't twisted. They
Okay.
just
You
called
asked?
me. They just called me up and asked me if I would serve. That they
Okay.
needed, had a guy that was retiring, so
Okay.
I live right there in town, so I agreed to do it.
So you've gone to the new commissioner training? You've gone to new commissioner training?
Yes.
Okay. Do you find, relative to, for instance, the answers that were given by Mr. Warner, do you feel like you have a better appreciation for what was required of you as a result of that training?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have any concern after conducting that training about the way the board was conducting business?
No, not really.
Okay. And if you wanted to get water district, if you wanted to get the packet that Ms. Haney puts together ahead of the meeting, would you object to that, or would you prefer it? Just curious your
No,
position
it'd
on
be
it.
fine with me.
Okay. Do you find it, just curious, you've been getting them since January now at the meeting, is that right?
Yes,
Okay, or for the last couple of months, you've been getting the
Yes.
board packets?
yes.
Is there is there enough time when you get them versus when the meeting occurs for you all to ask questions about it and actually look at it and know what you're getting?
We can ask some, but we don't have time to study it enough, I don't imagine, so it would probably be better if we had them in advance.
And then just real quick, I should have asked this earlier, the audits that you all get each year, you get presented with the audits, you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you all get those at the same meeting you're asked to approve them? Are you asked to approve the audit, or are you just presented the audit for your records?
We're just presented the audit for our records.
Okay. Counsel? Anything else? All right, thank you very much.
Call Cecil, Duncan.
Morning, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Please have a seat. Please state your name and address for the record.
Cecil Duncan, 1050 Whetstone Road, Carlisle, Kentucky, 40311.
Counsel?
Mr. Duncan, when were you appointed to the Sharpsburg Water District?
I'm not, it's around 2010, somewhere in there.
Okay. And have you had new commissioner training?
Yes.
Do you recall when that was?
Right after I went on the board.
Okay. Have you had any training since then?
No.
Have you, you sat and were present when Gail and Randy both testified? Do you disagree with anything they've said or any of the other commissioners that testified before you?
No.
No further questions.
Ms. Phils?
Again, just one clarification, Mr. Duncan. I know you said it, you might have believed it's 2010.
I ain't for sure when it was exactly.
2014 sound
Well, it might have been.
more accurate?
We thought it was sooner than that. It
That's
may
the
have-
first record I saw of your appointment.
Okay,
And
maybe it was.
the only training that was indicated was from back in 2015. Does that sound
It
correct?
was after, yeah, it was a little after I went on.
Have you attended any other trainings or any training since then?
No.
Thank you, that's all.
Vice Chair? Did you find the trainings helpful?
Mhm.
Based on the testimony you heard today from Mr. Warner, do you feel like you have a better appreciation for the job than he may have indicated he had today?
Yes.
Do you think that's because of the training or some other extracurricular reading that you've been doing?
The training and stuff.
Okay. Anything else you need to add?
No, sir.
You have an email address?
Yes.
That you can get the board minutes?
could.
Or do you also work down the street that you can just, you can just pop in?
No.
Okay, all right. Mr. Rogers,
No further questions.
thank you.
Call Billy Martin. And Mr. Martin may need, I think you do have a list here.
We do have some ears.
Yeah.
Candace, do you have those over there? Fuel, Mr. Rogers, thank you.
Say something. They're not on right now. Okay, okay. Put these in and then let us know if you can hear when the commissioner speaks.
Can you hear me okay, Mr. Martin?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
I do.
All right, please have a seat. Please state your name and address for the record.
Billy Martin, 275 Main Street, Sharpsburg, Kentucky, 40374.
Okay. Mr. Rogers?
Mr. Martin, how long have you been on the commission, Sharpsburg Water District?
2 years, I think.
You
Just
think 2
appointed
years?
about 2 years ago.
Okay. And have you had training since then?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I come down here and had, when I first got appointed.
Okay. And you got to sit and listen to Gail and Randy and the rest of the commissioners testify here today, correct?
Correct.
Do you disagree with anything they said so far?
No, sir.
Pass the witness.
Ms. Fell?
Good afternoon, Mr. Martin. Just curious, did you step in to fill a vacant commissioner's position?
I can hear.
Okay, let me know. I'm gonna move this closer to myself. When you were initially appointed, did you step in to fill a vacant position of
I
another?
feel somebody's place, I don't,
Okay. Just-
Mr. Wills, I think, wasn't it?
It's okay if you don't, or if you're not aware. I just wanted to make sure I had that right. And as far as the years, does 2019 sound right when you would have stepped in and filled that position?
Well, I thought it was 21, but maybe it was 19.
Well, you did. It does appear that you were reappointed, or however it was considered, in June of 2021. That's your current term. Does that sound right
Correct.
for your current term? Okay. And it looks like the training you attended was back in 2019.
Okay.
So you're the newest member on the board that we've got here.
Yes, ma'am.
And you attended that training in 2019. I'll go ahead and ask what Commissioner's going to ask you. Did you feel like that training helped you understand your duties as a board member?
I sure did. I was down here 2 days.
And did you have any other type of training from anyone else?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Vice Chair, anything?
Can you hear me okay?
Ma'am? I can hear now.
Can you hear me okay? Is that better with the microphone?
I still can hear through these things. I believe you're here without them.
Okay. See if
Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did they provide hearing accommodation for you at the training? Were you able to hear the training?
No, ma'am.
You weren't able to hear the training when you went to it for 2 days?
Oh, yes, yes.
They provided some way for you to be able to hear
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
That's all the questions I have.
Do you have anything else to add?
I'm getting too old for this job, I think. I was on the school board, Bath County, 20 years, chairman 19 years. Then I served 12 years on the fiscal court, 2 years in the Army, and followed mules forever when I was a kid on the farm.
You, you've been on the board for a few years. We'll just say a few, okay?
Yeah.
Couple, few, whatever. Did you know that the board was losing money every year?
No, sir. I just what report we got here in the last month, so, you know.
Okay. If you knew the board was losing money, would you have recommended, supported, whatever word we want to use, would you have supported filing a rate case to fix that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Do you expect Ms. Haney or whoever the manager is to tell the board about the financial position of the district?
Yeah.
And do you think that you all have made that clear that that's the expectation in writing?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. And if you haven't, do you think that that's necessary?
Yes, sir.
Board packets. Would you like to get the board packet before the meeting?
Well, I did when I was on the school board, we got a week ahead of time.
Was that helpful in preparing for the meeting?
Everything was prepared, then we have to go in, have a regular meeting.
Yeah. And then on the fiscal court, you all had a set agenda before the meeting, is that right?
That's right,
And was that helpful to know the issues before you got there?
that's right.
Okay. But if you want the board minutes before, or the board packet before, you think you should tell Ms. Haney that?
Yeah, I could tell her that.
Okay. All right. Again, I mean, she's guessing what you want if you don't tell her. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Rogers?
Billy, do you have email?
Huh?
Do you have
No,
email?
No.
Okay. Where you live in relation to the district office?
Well,
How close do you live to the water district office? About a half mile from, you live about a half mile from the office?
Not, just right up the street.
Okay. No problem.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anything else, Mr. Rogers, from your all's perspective?
No, sir.
Ms. Fell, anything else? So, we need to talk about, this, since there's not like a statutory deadline or anything, things can be a little, more fluid. Or we're not waiting to calculate, reimbursements or things like that, like the last time, Sharpsburg was here. So, we'll have some post-hearing data requests. We'll give those a few days, for us to get those. So in the next few days, we'll enter a post-hearing procedural schedule where we, put in a date for staff to propound their post-hearing discovery. Probably give you 2 weeks to file responses. I know that at least one of the questions I think is going to be in relation to fiscal court minutes. So I'd ask that anything that's within your all's control, you file those as timely as possible. If additional time is necessary in order to get hold of those minutes, that you just seek additional time limited to those items that need additional time. Go ahead and file what you have, and then if you need more time to get the fiscal court meeting, something like that, just seek, a large amount of time or something like that, specific to those issues. But we'll usually set those data requests at 2 weeks, for a response. Given the close of evidence will occur once all of those responses are due, how much time, just roughly, would you need after the close of evidence to file a brief if you choose to do so? And even if it's not a brief, just a position or whatever you'd like to file.
An additional 2 weeks, I think would be.
So I'll give you plenty of time. So what we'll do is the post-hearing procedural schedule will say that it's due 3 weeks after the filing of data request responses.
Fair enough.
Okay. And then if anything else comes up, we'll take it up as it comes. So, all right. Is there anything else, Counsel?
I have nothing further.
Ms. Fell?
Nothing further,
All
Ken.
right. If there's nothing else, we'll adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be careful driving home. Stay warm.